Today I'd just like to talk to you about the recess that I'm putting into the coolant tray. You would have seen the other videos when I spoke about the drill chuck alternative, mentioning the dies. Well, the dies are actually finished, and as I mentioned in the coolant tray video, the 1.5 mil is fairly thick. So I learnt a lesson there, is it takes a lot more force than what you may think. So I purchased a hydraulic hole punch, and they have a set of dies. I bought the one with 10 sets of dies, and that's for punching holes, but I'm using it to actually crush down the recess. Here is the top die. It's got the slight V in it. Here's the bottom die. That's got the slight recess. It's got 2 holes in it because I'm going to have 2 drain holes in the single recess. So this is just to guide it up. So on the lathe, I originally had a coolant tray on the outside made out of plastic guttering that you have around your house. Easy to cut and to glue, worked quite well. I then drilled the holes in the guttering, had some fine mesh so the guttering was there. That was attached to the bottom of the guttering, a couple of holes, and this drain apparatus was then screwed to that. That worked fine until I noticed the coolant was flooding out the back of the headstock of the lathe and dripping out. So I then got an old barbecue tray off the old hoods, and so that's the lid, so that's what it sits on. It was large enough now. So this was redundant. So the idea here is that the recess will come down into this holder. Come down, have the 2 drain holes. The nut will attach underneath. There'll be a hole drilled in the centre between the 2 drain holes, and a rod tapped in there and tapped in there, and just screwed up against a rubber seal to fit up. Now I could have just done the 2 holes, but the recess was for the mesh. So the mesh will just sit in the recess on the top. That way the swarf doesn't go in, it's easier to clean. So what you do is you get your step drills. I always like to start with the smaller step drill before I start ploughing in with the big one. These are excellent for sheet metal. I do a fantastic job. Then when you've drilled your hole, you just slightly touch the next size up, and that actually deburrs it for you. You then go back to the other side where the big burr is and just touch it with your hand drill, nice and slow, and it takes the burr off. So it drills an accurate round hole, no chatter, quickly, and it also chamfers quite well. So they're 19.8 rods. The threads are down a little bit. So I'll just use the 20 mil one, draw that 45 mil apart. Then I will crush the form in. Then I will then use 2 tapered cone ones that you saw on the lathe, and they will then just put the little taper on that will guide it through. So then, when this is attached up, this can fit in. That will go at the back and fit like that. Now, I got one of these adapters, because these recesses, when they sit in under there, any finer coolant, any finer grit and swarf and all that will go down and actually will be trapped in these little valleys. I also just plan to glue a couple of magnets on the bottom, so the filter will cut out the larger ones, then the magnets will trap the finer ones. So on the other end of the coolant tank there'll be a cutout opposite the pump that will go in, and using plumbing fittings there's lots of standard sizes you can make up, and they're quite versatile. They all go in different directions, different lengths, different shapes, and they work well. So in the coolant tank will be the final filter, and the coolant will come through. That will be the larger mesh, and there's a finer mesh just in case. So that's the basic principle, and I'll drill that and I'll show you how it turns out at the end. Thanks for watching.